Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party here. Rhett is out in the living room. She really wants to be in here actually this morning. She didn't get to come out yesterday, which I forgot to record yesterday's video, so I was a little bit out of it yesterday. Um, but she didn't get to come in uh, this morning because we have to run an errand, so I don't have very much time. So an errand, we call them errands here when we have to go take care of stuff, but we got to go on a bit of a road trip, about an hour and a half to get to a Gainesville, Georgia, and then we'll be done. But anyways, we are making pretty good progress on this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I think we were working on services yesterday. Basically, what happened, I was thinking about this, like as I do, and we had sort of come across a cluster of code that was just sort of difficult to reach. I guess that is one of the things, like sort of a side effect of Angular, is that you get um, or of unit tests, is that it gives you a chance to sort of look over all the code and look for any kind of issues along whatever, it can just be part of I guess what people would call a pipeline, a set of steps that you go through. But the um, So, anyways, so we'd found a set of code that was like kind of like a jumble. It was difficult to understand, and so now I'm trying to break that down into smaller components so that they can be reasoned about. That's really the biggest thing to me. The hardest part of software development in 2026 is not writing the code for the computer. Um, Heck, we're even to the point now where you write the code, code is written for computers by computers. Um, but the more important thing is to translate it so that a human being can make make sense of what's going on. Anyway, so it looks like I have broken this down pretty well, it looks like I have actually. Am I using my get render ID? Yeah, get mode from render, get render ID from render. And so this code should be pretty straightforward to unit test, but we probably want to do one more little thing. And then basically, what does this do? All this does is set our numeric number. But it only sets it if it has something. So that's a little tricky. So it's like I kind of want to just pass in my renderer ID and get my render ID. And I have seen that pattern before. I've never implemented that pattern, but I've seen it where you pass it in the value and it returns the value, and like the new value, or returns the original value. And that's kind of nice because it sort of lets me define the initial value. But actually, I guess what makes more sense is to let it define it, and then move this renderer ID down, because literally all it needs is the render string, pass it the renderer string, and render ID string, and then get the number back. Should be pretty straightforward. That's the goal. And we'll know that it failed if, um, I don't know. That's funny. Okay, so with this, basically, its job is to publish what the ender ID is. I guess, yeah, well, yeah, it, I don't know who listens to it, though. It's not necessarily, we'd have to look it up to see who listens to it. But that's not really its job, but it's kind of hard to test it on its own. But basically, what we want to do is it should just break, though, I would think. Um, but let's see. So basically, I want to take this value, pass it to a value, and get this back. So first things first, we'll move this down here. Just make sure, I don't think there's a problem with moving it down here. And then we want to create a function that is basically this, that either returns a -1 or the number that gets passed it to it. Oh, it does need the string though. So we know we need the function. So it says, so get numeric um, renderer ID. So I think that's good enough for that. And then we can say render ID string. And that is going to be a string. And then we'll just basically copy this, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. And all I can do, like normally I like to try to imagine what's going to break, like know what's going to break if I get this wrong. This time I do not know render ID. All right, and now we take the GUI inside and move it over here. Oh, Rhett's calling out to me right now. She really wants to be in here at this moment. She got so sassy last night while we were watching TV because she gets bored. Okay, so we need to pass in the mode as well. I love you, Rat. So my boss is very similar to me in that he has had like um just tons of experience, you know, like decades of experience. But he started as a database person, and it's just so wild to see the difference in the way we approach problems. Um, you know, because you know, like there's really no like if you screw up at the database level, you've screwed everybody up. Like all everything from there on, all the way to the front end can really end up being negatively um, affected. So I just want to do this just to make sure that the yeah. So okay, and then this should be gone, right? Line 55. Yeah, this is not the new code. See, that is like the craziest thing is like, okay, so now I have to hit refresh. And that should kick off a new. Do I have a, oh, I have a test that isn't. There's a dimmed one out here. Table component should toggle. So it looks like this one actually doesn't have a test. And usually it'll give me like a warning in my console log. But I'm guessing I have so many console logs that that warning is pushed off the screen completely. And to me, that is one of the biggest problems in software in like having console logs is that it makes like you can't see what the errors are. But anyways, hit reload here. All right, so that looks good. So now um, all of this is clean. It appears. I think it's clean, but the final test on whether it's clean or not to me, and I don't know if I know exactly what the um, you know, like the definition of clean can mean a lot of things, but to me, the definition of one of the major side effects of clean code is that you can just read it. You can read it as a normal human being. I don't know. Those days may almost be over. Maybe the day of, hey, blindly copying code from one area and putting it into another. Maybe those days are coming towards us. It's hard for me to visualize that right now. But I did watch like a YouTube video yesterday where they were like explaining how when you're the person that's an expert at a certain thing, it's almost impossible for you to see the future. Um, so because you're just so deep into how things work right now, like you've become an expert at how things are right now. So it's difficult for you to imagine how things would be in the future. I guess there's certain circumstances where in the future we may literally just blindly copy from one to another. And I would imagine someone who used to write code in the beginning with where you're just shifting bits in registers. Like there used to be a time where like you literally knew what every pixel on the screen was doing, what was in every single piece of memory, like everything was in your head. Now we don't even think about that. Maybe at some point we won't even think about the actual code. Who knows? Probably. That's actually probably what is going to happen. I can't visualize exactly how that works, but anyway, so can I read this? Go. So line 45 says to take our string, our URL string, and split it. Okay, that makes total sense. And then put it in an array called route information. Then we go and get the mode from route information. Okay, that makes sense. Get the mode for, and I don't have to go look at that code. I just know that this gets the mode. And that's what a lot of people mean by abstraction. Like, so you don't know what the actual details of this are. You just know that that's what you're getting. So that's not always how people use the word abstraction, but sometimes they use it that way. And so now this lets the render, and it gets the render ID from the route information. Again, makes total sense to me. I don't know, maybe I there's a lot of times where something like this will make sense to me when I'm reading it today, but then like, oh, tomorrow it doesn't make sense, and it made sense. I used to work in this language called Perl, and in Perl it was notorious. Like, we used to laugh about it because you could be as careful as you want. Like, let's say at 10 a.m. you're working, and from 10 to noon you just code, and you're just so careful and thoughtful about every assignment, everything. You go to lunch, you come back, you cannot make heads or tails of that code. It's just like the language just did not lean into that at all. Um, Renderer ID, this get numeric renderer ID. So we're getting the numeric renderer ID. And we pass it our renderer ID string and mode. So we are getting it from the render ID string and mode. And then we're setting this, which is a signal. I guess it should. See, there's nothing that tells that this is going to publish. It's like I want to see that executes. Is there like a publish? There we go. That's perfect, actually. Um, publish signal. All right. And then that, so I don't know. I know this is pretty short for a Saturday, but I have, like I said, I have got stuff to do. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.